I heard the story about a seminary professor who took his students to a cemetery, right? Seminary and cemetery are pretty close in relation to one another, but here you go. So he takes them to the cemetery, and he says to them, okay, preachers, I want you to preach to these headstones. I want you to preach to these graves. I want you to preach in such a way that it brings the dead to life. And they looked at him like Miley Cyrus looks at a second grade math book. And, yeah, you got that picture, right? And so they're looking at him like he's crazy, all right? But they start preaching, right? They start preaching, and they're like, at first they're real timid, like, hey, come to life. And then he's like, no, y'all got to preach. Get loud, get passionate, preach to them. And so they do. They start preaching. Come to life, come to life, come to life. What happens? Nothing. And the professor looks at him and he says, this is the exact same picture when you are preaching to spiritually dead people. That there is no amount of passion, no amount of words you can say, no right words you can say that can raise the spiritually dead to spiritual life. Nothing you can do to bring them to life. Which is why me, as a preacher, can stand up here in full confidence, and even though I blubber around up here and get words wrong, that I have confidence in God, that it is not dependent upon my words, whether I say the right things or the right way or in the right screaming enough, that's going to bring you to spiritual life. But I rest in the fact that God is the one who does it. This is confidence for the believer in sharing your faith. You are only a failure in sharing your faith if you are disobedient to share your faith. That means whether they look at you in your face and spit at you and say, you're crazy, bigot, I can't believe you believe that crap, then you can take hope and confidence in the fact that you have succeeded in doing what God has called you to do. It's not your job to raise the dead to life. That's God's job, and you can't do it anyway. This is why when this place, and what an incredible movement we have already going, I know God's going to fill these seats, and we're going to see people come to Christ. We're going to baptize people. We're going to glory in God's saving. And at no point in any of that will I say, look how awesome I was. It's because y'all had some amazing preaching. No, never. Because I understand the fact that I can't raise you to spiritual life. And I can scream, and I love screaming. I only have level 10 volume. It's who I am, okay? I know you got earplugs. You thought you were getting them for the worship, but you're really getting them for me. I understand that. But no matter how passionate I get, no matter the right words I say, no matter the good illustration, no matter how hard I work on my sermon, I can't bring you to life spiritually. That's why I spend the bulk of my week just praying, God, raise the dead to life. Do what you do. Do what only you can do. And this is the same thing. Believer, take hope and take confidence that you can go out and share the gospel with everyone, because the success of that gospel has nothing to do with you. That's why sometimes you'll share the gospel and you think it went so well. You think, man, if they don't get saved, I don't know what's wrong with them. And they turn their back on God. But then you share it again and you didn't even know you were sharing it. You're just telling some crazy story and you stumbled through it, but they came to Christ. You're like, why did they come to Christ? It's because it had nothing to do with you. It's because you don't raise dead hearts. And if you try, you're just preaching the graves. But God, I said last week, I say it again, God is in the business of changing natures. We were imputed with Adam's sin, the gift that keeps on giving. All mankind fallen. And Jesus takes our dead heart, brings us to life, puts us in the cross, justifies us, and we can sing with hope in our hearts to say, man, praise be to God, because salvation was his to give and he gave it. It was in him and him alone that I have salvation. This is why God gets the glory. When we see people come to Christ, when we start baptizing folks, we're going to say, look at Jesus. How great is Jesus? That he would begin to speak in hearts. He would begin to save people's lives. How great is the Father? To pour out his unconditional love on us.